It's 10 o'clock. This is Sky News at 10, our top story. A mix between total despair and rising anger. Nigel Farage's message as he unveils plans for mass migrant deportations if he's elected to office.
If you come to the UK illegally, you will be detained and deported and never, ever allowed to stay. Period.
The Israeli military claims it was targeting a Hamas camera when it struck a hospital in Gaza, killing 20 people. We need this war to end. Israeli protesters call for an end to the conflict and a deal to free hostages. The governor of America's central bank threatens to sue Donald Trump over his plans to fire her. Inside a Ukrainian drone factory, we hear how Russia is winning the arms race with a technology that's revolutionizing warfare. And it's a love story. She just said yes. Music superstar Taylor Swift announces her engagement to American footballer Travis Kelce. Plus, we'll take a first look at tomorrow's front pages in our press preview from 10:30 right through to midnight. Good evening. Nigel Farage was in a combative mood when he took to the stage to outline his plan to deport hundreds of thousands of asylum seekers. He even suggested he'd pay regimes like the Taliban to take them back if he becomes Prime Minister. The Reform UK leader unveiled what he called Operation Restoring Justice, saying he'd abolish the UK's human rights commitments and deport absolutely anyone, including women and children, arriving on a small boat. The plans have been scorned by legal experts and dismissed as unworkable by Labour and the Conservatives. Our Deputy Political Editor Sam Coates reports.
Qui donne une garantie européenne au maintien de la démocratie.
A new world order enshrined in law, the European Convention of Human Rights, to protect the refugees of the future. Millions had run from the Nazis with nowhere to go. Now, those fleeing would always have a home. For 70 years, agreements like this have been part of our national consensus until today. As Nigel Farage sets out why he believes walking into power means walking away from the treaties of the past, all in order to enable his plan to stop the boats. A deterrent based on a promise to remove over 500,000 illegal migrants over the course of the next parliament.
The only way we will stop the boats is by detaining and deporting absolutely anyone that comes via that route. And if we do that, the boats will stop coming within days.
He claims it's as simple as a binary choice.
Whose side are you on? Are you on the side of women and children being safe on our streets? Or are you on the side of outdated international treaties backed up by a series of dubious courts?
He wants you to think there is no bigger issue.
The mood in the country around this issue is a mix between total despair and rising anger. In fact, I think there is now, as a result of this, a genuine threat to public order.
Everywhere, echoes of President Trump.
As they say in America, I endorse this message.
We're years from this ever potentially needing to be implemented, and there are many questions about how it would work in practice. But Nigel Farage has thrown down the gauntlet. Should the system drawn up after the Second World War to protect refugees stay or be ripped up? He says it's got to go. But will Tory and Labour agree? The Tories widely expected to announce similar in a few weeks' time.
Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. The fact is, Nigel Farage is copying our homework. We put out a deportation bill in May. The stuff that actually works and what he said has come from there. But the truth is, he is not doing the thinking, we are.
Labour agree you need a deterrent to stop the boats, but say their plan is preferable.
Time and time again across all of his proposals, they begin to wilt under the weight of the most simple of questions. What the Labour government has put in place is begin to put in place a plan that's beginning to work.
Mass deportations, a lawless society, a bleak picture Nigel Farage hopes will drive voters into the arms of reform. How much will the other parties end up agreeing? Sam Coates, Sky News.
And let's speak to our political correspondent, Liz Bates, who's at the Home Office, has been following the story. Liz, whatever anyone may think about Nigel Farage's plans, the other parties, the Conservatives and the government, and also legal experts, have called them ultimately unworkable.
They certainly have, and as Nigel Farage, we see from Nigel Farage many times before, his plans today and the way that he unveiled them and the language that he used, very provocative. The Liberal Democrat leader, Ed Davey, pretty outraged. We've also heard from the Greens. Let me bring you what they said. A reform government would pay brutal regimes like the Taliban to accept the return of migrants, including unaccompanied children. This is not who we are as a nation. The vast majority of the British public are willing to show compassion towards those fleeing the terrible situations they leave behind. The Conservatives, quite interesting, they haven't gone as far as reform, particularly when it comes to the scrapping of international treaties. But Kemi Badenoch almost trying to take credit for some of the things that Nigel Farage unveiled today. She was saying that they had copied the Conservatives' homework but hadn't learned the lessons. She said there'll be more details from them on their immigration policy. They are considering things like leaving the European Convention on Human Rights, but haven't gone that far yet. We have heard from the Prime Minister's official spokesman today, and what he said is, let's be clear, the ECHR underpins key international agreements on trade, security, migration and the Good Friday Agreement. Anyone who is proposing to renegotiate the Good Friday Agreement is not serious. We are focused on policies to address the issue rather than a return to gimmicks. That is the government's position, and we've seen over the past year, certainly from the Home Office, announcement after announcement, trying to get a grip of this issue. They've got lots of problems on the horizon. In particular, we saw over the past few days people taking to the streets, and there'll be a court hearing this week. The Home Office challenging the High Court, who said that that hotel that was at the centre of those riots, the Bell in Essex, that they would be blocked from housing asylum seekers. That would throw the government's entire immigration policy and the housing of asylum seekers into complete chaos. So they will certainly have an eye on that. And at the centre of their immigration approach as well, agreements with the French, including a one-in, one-out policy, and an agreement that the French police would take a different approach to letting migrants, we've seen images of this, letting them get into those boats to cross the channel, and they were going to take a harder line on that. Well, we now know that the French government at the moment is currently in a bit of disarray, real political problems over there for President Macron, so some of that could be delayed as well. So many problems on the horizon for the government, and a firm commitment from the Prime Minister that he's not going to go down that road of tearing up international agreements that were put in place to protect refugees. And if he isn't going to do that, then his political opponents will step into that space and try to take advantage of that. And that is what we've seen from Nigel Farage today.
Liz Bates with the latest on that from the Home Office, from outside the Home Office. Liz, thank you. Now, the Israeli ministry said tonight its initial inquiry into yesterday's strike on a hospital in Gaza has found that troops had identified a camera that had been positioned by Hamas in the vicinity of the building, but it hasn't provided any evidence to back up that claim. At least 20 people were killed, including 5 journalists, in the strike on the Nasser hospital in Khan Yunis. In Israel, meanwhile, demonstrations have been taking place, calling for the return of hostages in what's been called a national day of struggle. Our Middle East correspondent Adam Parsons reports.
A mournful tune on an emotional day. Across Israel, there were protests, a call for the government to do everything it can to bring home the hostages. A plea for these voices to be heard, a day when many went on strike as a show of defiance. Nadav's father Tal was taken hostage on October the 7th, a beloved dad, and grandfather. He's now dead, but his body has never been returned. Nadav is sure that diplomacy, not war, will deliver his father back to him.
My dad is still being held captive, although he's not alive. My life is stuck, so in order to continue living and start the healing process, we need them home and we need the war to be over.
We meet Saviona. She tells me her banner is a sign of desperation. She says she trusts America more than she trusts her own government.
A very long war brings only death and despair to both people.
How would you sum up Benjamin Netanyahu?
I would like him to see him in jail.
There is little love here for Israel's Prime Minister, seen by his detractors as belligerent and inflexible. As evening fell, so the noise increased as the march arrived in Hostages Square.
This protest is all about making sure that Israel does not forget these hostages. A lot of people here say they love their country, but a theme we've heard again and again is that they think that the government is imperiling the loved ones who are imprisoned in Gaza.
Israel's government says it won't stop the war unless Hamas agrees to all of its terms, with no deal on offer.
Our Prime Minister has been crystal clear. No more piecemeal elements to a potential ceasefire, humanitarian pause. Our objective is all of the hostages, a full deal.
So instead, the military action escalates. Gaza City attacked again, a place almost certain to be occupied by a huge Israeli force in the coming weeks. It is impossible to escape the shadow of war. Israel's military has now released its first report into the attack on Nasser Hospital that killed 20, including 5 journalists, and drew global outrage. It claims the IDF was trying to destroy a camera on the 4th floor, an excuse that won't satisfy many. Adam Parsons, Sky News, Tel Aviv.
The pilot and 2 of his passengers killed in a helicopter crash on the Isle of Wight have been named. A 4th person is in hospital after the chopper went down during a flying lesson yesterday morning. And tonight, the company which owns the helicopter expressed their sympathies for those who were on board. Sky's Dan Whitehead reports.
A devastating loss that has left 2 families heartbroken. Justina Choska and Wojciech Kowalkowski have been named as 2 of the victims on Monday's helicopter crash on the Isle of Wight. Police have also confirmed that pilot Simon Hewitt lost his life. He was leading a flying lesson that ended in tragedy. Paying tribute, Justina's daughters and family said, "We are heartbroken to share the passing of our mum. She was beautiful, funny, talkative, optimistic and kind, always wanting to make those around her happy." Simon's family said that he was the most wonderful, intelligent, kind man and father. He brought so much joy and light into our lives. We are absolutely broken. As tributes come in, investigation work at the crash site is continuing.
Lorries have been brought in now to help recover the wreckage of the helicopter. Behind the police cordon, officers from the Air Accident Investigation Branch are carrying out their work, going through the helicopter piece by piece.
The helicopter took off from Sandown Airport at around 9 a.m. on Bank Holiday Monday. Locals describe how it was a miracle no vehicles were on the road at the time, in what is peak season on the island. The 4th person on board, a man in his 30s, remains in a stable condition in hospital. For the families of the victims, there is now a desperate need for answers as to just how this tragedy occurred. Dan Whitehead, Sky News, on the Isle of Wight.
The governor of the U.S. Central Bank, the Federal Reserve, Lisa Cook, says that she will sue Donald Trump over an order to sack her. President Trump says there is sufficient reason to believe that she had made false statements on her mortgage and says he has constitutional powers to remove her.
She seems to have had an infraction, and she can't have an infraction, especially that infraction, because she's in charge of, if you think about it, mortgages, and we need people that are 100% above board, and it doesn't seem like she was. Well, we have some very good people for that position, and I think we have some very good people. We're down to, I mean, I think I maybe in my own mind have somebody that I like.
Let's go live to Washington and speak to our U.S. correspondent, David Blevins. David, Donald Trump has fired or tried to fire quite a lot of people. Why is this case so controversial?
Well, this isn't just about Donald Trump's attempt to remove a governor from the Federal Reserve. It's about his attempt to control everything. The Federal Reserve is an independent body like the central bank. It sets interest rates. And for months, he's been threatening to fire the chairman, Jerome Powell, for not cutting rates quickly enough for him. And then overnight, he announced that he had sacked Lisa Cook, who is the first African-American woman to serve on that governing body. She categorically denies his allegations of mortgage fraud and has now filed her own lawsuit against Donald Trump. But why does it really matter? Well, if he were to be successful in removing her, it would tip the balance on the governing body in favour of Trump nominees, arguably giving him control over things like the setting of interest rates. That's why this move sparked a swift response in the markets. The dollar fell because investors are concerned about further White House overreach. That's why I say it's not just about one governor. It's about a power grab or an attempt to grab power, in this case from an independent body that sets monetary policy for the United States, a monetary policy with a global impact. This affects us all.
David Blevins with the latest there from Washington, D.C. David, thank you. A court has heard how an asylum seeker living in an Epping hotel tried to kiss a 14-year-old girl and told her he wanted to have a baby with her. 38-year-old Hadush Kebatu is accused of approaching the teenager and her friend in July. He denies charges, including sexual assault. A manhunt is underway after 2 police officers were killed and another seriously injured in a shooting in rural Australia. The incident happened at a property in Popunka, 200 miles from Melbourne, when 10 armed officers tried to execute a search warrant. The gunman remains at large. The Metropolitan Police says it made a total of 528 arrests over the 2 days of the Notting Hill Carnival. There were 4 stabbings or slashings, but no life-threatening injuries. And the Met says there was a reduction in serious violence. Sky News has been given exclusive access inside a top-secret Ukrainian drone factory that's transforming warfare and helping to hold off the Russian invasion. But the factory's founder told our international affairs editor Dominic Waghorn that they are losing the arms race with Russia and are desperately in need of more help from the West. Here's Dominic's report.
In a nondescript office building in a secret location, stacks and stacks of one of the most lethally effective weapons in this war. They're put together like toys, with care and precision, fitted with parts, programmed and customized to hunt, intercept and kill. They're made as quickly as possible to meet demand from the front. Starting as volunteers making 100 a month, they're now producing 1,000 times that.
It's still not enough because Russians have a lot of troops, a lot of vehicles, and our soldiers every day tell us that we need more weapons, we need better, we need faster, we need it higher, and more and more. I want to show you the testing room.
Each drone is tested before being sent to the front line. Dima played with drones at home before the Russians occupied it. Now he's here ensuring they're up to the job of killing the enemy effectively. This is how Ukraine has held off the Russians for more than 3 years, improvising with extraordinary start-up ingenuity. But for how much longer? The factory's a key target for Russia. They move often and keep its locations secret. We've been given exclusive access because they need help.
I need to say that it's not about only money investments. We need investments of people, of scientists, of engineers that can help us. They can give more help. They can give more investments. They can give more solutions, more technical solutions. For us, it's about survival for now.
At the start of the war, drones gave Ukrainians the power to hold off the invaders, cheap and devastating against Russia's war machine. This is the $1,000 drone taking out a $300,000 Russian one. In the air and on the ground, they have hunted the enemy without mercy. But they're losing the upper hand now, with implications not just for Ukraine. This conflict has revolutionized warfare. It's becoming a sci-fi battle between machines, and whoever wins the drones arms race gets the upper hand not just in this conflict, but other wars to come. This is what they're up against. The Russians are now openly showing off their drone factories. Sinister pictures showing high-tech production lines churning out thousands of attack drones to take off from the back of pickup trucks. Russia is operating on a scale Ukraine can only dream of. Hundreds of these killing machines are launched against Ukraine every night, taking scores of civilian lives. It is a constant battle to stay one step ahead. Alexandra showed us a new prototype guided by a trail of fibre optic thread to prevent Russian jamming. But he says the Russians, with Chinese help, have them too.
The Russians began using the technology earlier and have scaled up production. They've had considerable help from the Chinese. Entire factories are under contract to supply fibre exclusively to Russia, producing it in vast quantities.
In just 3.5 years, drones have transformed the way war is waged, raising the question, could humans soon become obsolete on the battlefield? Do you think drones will get rid of soldiers completely?
Absolutely. I think it's the future, and nowadays we have statistics that 80% of all strikes on the battlefield are done by drones. We already understood from the early beginning that the future is, in the future war, it's about technologies. So every book that you read about future, it can be right now.
While diplomats wrangle over security guarantees for after the war, Ukraine says it has more pressing needs right now. Against Russia's militarized economy, they are losing the edge and can only prevail, they say, with more help from the West. Dominic Waghorn, Sky News, Ukraine.
Sweeping new internet safety rules designed to protect children have now been in place across the UK for a month. Data suggests the number of people visiting pornographic sites has fallen sharply, but Sky News has found harmful content is still sometimes being targeted at teenagers, as our science and technology reporter Mickey Carroll has been finding out.
1 month ago, the UK saw the biggest change to its online safety laws since the creation of the internet. The new rules requiring age verification and algorithm changes are controversial, but have they made any difference to our online lives?
We want to see if teenagers are still being served harmful content, so we're setting up some fake accounts registered to 15-year-olds, and we're going to see what we get served. OK, so I'm just going to search on TikTok for a couple of search terms that may bring up suicide and self-harm content. The first search term has come up with no videos. I've just searched for one that is, it's not a niche word. I think pretty much everyone knows it's related to this topic. And it's brought up some really horrendous posts, the kind of thing that should be hidden from underage users now since these rules came into force.
We also searched for another term and were shown a mental health support page with links to a helpline.
So that's exactly what should happen every time you search for something to bring up this kind of content.
TikTok told us it has designed 70+ features and settings that support the safety and well-being of teens and families on our app. and we partner with organisations such as Samaritans and the International Association for Suicide Prevention to bring wellbeing resources directly to our community. We continually enforce comprehensive community guidelines, with over 99% of violative content proactively removed by TikTok. This single account does not reflect the real experience of a teen on our platform. Although we found harmful content, a group of teenagers we previously spoke to before the rules came into force told us they've now noticed a change.
So I've definitely not seen violent content anymore. I feel more clean sort of way.
I can actually scroll on the internet worry-free of what's going to pop up.
I believe algorithms have been quite tame in comparison to what they were.
Now, I don't have to worry about seeing things I don't want to see. They do that for me.
The thing is, adults use the internet too, and these new age verification rules seem to have changed the way they surf the web. Not everyone's happy about it.
We all want children to be safe online, but I don't think those benefits outweigh the significant cost. No other liberal democracy has taken steps like this in this kind of way. So no, I think there are ways to talk about child safety online without embracing this approach to the internet, which treats everyone as a child by default.
Data given to Sky News by SimilarWeb showed that between the 19th of July and 15th of August, there was a 45% drop in the number of UK users to Pornhub, the country's most popular pornography site. And even pornography-based forums took a hit. Subreddits linked to bondage, discipline, sadism and masochism, or BDSM, for example, are experiencing 12% fewer visits from the UK than before the new rules were introduced. At the same time as age checks were introduced, Google searches for VPNs, virtual private networks that mask users' locations, skyrocketed. So just 1 month in, these new rules have already changed how many people browse the internet. The government has described them as a first step in online safety. The question is, how much further will they go? Mickey Carroll, Sky News.
The American singer-songwriter Taylor Swift has announced her engagement to American football star Travis Kelce, telling him, "You belong to me," and sending her fan base into meltdown. Sky's Alice Porter has the love story.
It looks like a happily ever after for Taylor Swift. The pop star and NFL player announced their engagement on Instagram with a caption, "Your English teacher and your gym teacher are getting married," with a dynamite emoji. It was such explosive news, it even made it to the White House.
Well, I wish him a lot of luck. I think he's a great player. I think he's a great guy, and I think that she's a terrific person. So I wish them a lot of luck.
She's had one of the most scrutinised love lives in showbiz. Her lyrics full of breakups and makeups. In July 2023, Travis Kelce declared on his podcast his desire to date Taylor Swift.
I was disappointed that she doesn't talk before or after her shows because she has to save her voice for the 44 songs that she sings. So I was a little butthurt I didn't get to hand her one of the bracelets I made for her. I wanted to give Taylor Swift one with my number on it.
Soon they were a couple, with Kelce catapulted to the highest orbit of celebrity. They got together midway through her Global Eras tour. Kelce often seen at her shows. Swifties watched on delightedly.
He acknowledges the fact that he is with somebody who has such an impact in not just the music industry, but in so many people's lives and the world itself in terms of who she is as a person. So I feel like he acknowledges that and celebrates that. He doesn't take away from the fact that she's so passionate in what she does.
When Swift appeared on Kelce's podcast earlier this month, discussing their relationship, engagement rumours went flying.
Kind of crazy. And I knew that he wasn't crazy the first couple of times that we talked. I was just like, he's truly getting to know me in a way that's very natural, very pure, very normal.
When the couple tie the knot, it's estimated they'll have a combined net worth of over $1.5 billion. But for now, it's just the perfect love story. Alice Porter, Sky News.
And congrats to them. Well, that was Sky News at 10. Coming up, we'll take a first look at tomorrow's papers in the press preview. Tonight, we're joined by the broadcaster and commentator Ali Miraj and the journalist and broadcaster Jenny Kleeman. Among the stories we'll be discussing this on the front of the Telegraph. The headline, Taliban to give Farage deal on migrants. We'll be right back.